Hello friends, Spirit of Truth here, and I just wanted to make a short video today to address one of the things I spoke about in my earlier videos, which was about the location of the heart and how I have a theory that ties into that. Now, for most people, they first noticed a change in the location of the heart recently. In the last year or so. For me, that happened when I was 5, except it moved the opposite direction, and now it has gone back. Not fully, but partially. So let's talk about that, and let me kind of clarify what I'm talking about there. So I explained in an earlier video that when I was 5, up until the age of 5, I had been taught that the heart was directly under the sternum in the center of the chest, fully and completely, not partially to the left, just fully and completely, directly centered under the sternum in the center of the chest. And when I was 5 and went to kindergarten and started saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, I was told the heart was on the left side of the chest. And from that time on, my understanding was always that the heart was on the left side of the chest, until these Mandela body changes started appearing, where it went back to the center but not completely. It went to the center and slightly to the left. So that whole thing made me think about how in the beginning in my childhood, I was very physically heart-centered. In other words, the heart was in the center of the chest. I was also much more heart-centered in spiritual terms. So much more spiritually innocent, loving, connected, kind, all of those things that have to do with spiritually heart-centered. And then my theory is that something happened that threw us off center, physically and spiritually. We were no longer heart-centered from the time I was 5 years old, when the heart was no longer in the center and was on the left. We were no longer heart-centered. And now, as people seem to be having spiritual awakenings and rising in consciousness, we seem to be going back toward heart-centeredness, both spiritually and physically. But it's not completely heart-centered. So, in my experience, there's the completely heart-centered, and then there's slightly off-center, and then there's way off-center, which is where I spent quite a few years, and many of you have as well. And I am predicting, assuming and supposing, that we're going to have another shift, and everybody will eventually. It's just, will we make it this time right now, or will it be much, much later? And so I see us moving back toward in the future where the heart will not be in the center and slightly to the left, but completely centered in the chest. I think that's going to be an upcoming physical change that's going to happen, is that the heart is going to move from being in the center and slightly to the left to being completely in the center. So I just noticed, sometime back, a correlation between the spiritual heart-centeredness and the actual moving of the heart, which leads me to another closely related theory of mine, because everything ties in with everything. It's all one big connected universe, right? So that spiritual and physical heart-centeredness leads me to the spiritual aspect of the Mandela Effect, and how much of it likely is about becoming heart-centered again. And the sabotage that was done to us to throw us off center. So I want to talk about the sabotage more in some other videos, but definitely I feel like this is a part of it. There's the physical aspect and the spiritual aspect where we've been thrown off center, and we are now trying to get back to center. And then, like I said, in a later video, I'll tie that into more about this sabotage, because this is only one aspect of the sabotage that's been done against us. And so we'll talk more about the sabotage later, but I was just wondering how many of you have felt the same or observed the same thing. How many of you actually saw the heart go to the left in the first place, like I did, because it seems a lot of people are recognizing it going from the left to almost center, but I haven't heard anybody else talk about it moving to the left in the first place. So I'm wondering how many of you have experienced that you saw it go to the left in the first place, and what your thoughts are on that, and what I've had to say in the rest of this video. So leave your comments for me if you would, if you've experienced or thought about similar things, because in an upcoming video I'm going to go over how some commonalities that I believe are happening between a lot of the Mandela affected, maybe not all of them, but some of them. So maybe we can look at that and see how many of us experience the same things. I'm sure not everybody is experiencing the same thing, because as I'll get into in later videos, I think there's a lot of different factions and groups involved in this whole thing that's happening right now, and I think there are also a lot of different people here for different reasons, and different groups of people here for different reasons. So we'll talk about that in an upcoming video, but just wondering if any of you have noticed this or thought about this or had any similar experiences. So let me know. Please comment, subscribe, like, share, and hopefully I'll see you again. Thanks. Bye.